Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So this week I have another 10 pens currently inked up this week. So I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Benu Minima Magma. We have a Benu Chameleon. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi. We have a Mythic pens, the Aeschylus. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove. We have a Montegrappa Shiny Circles Bartolomeo Ferrachina. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani 90. And then a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani Octagonal. So I think let's look at these pens in a little bit more detail. We have this lovely black pen, and I'm not normally one for black pens, but I have this and also this Benu, so these two Benus, on loan from Derek at Stonecrop Fine Writing Supplies. So if you want any of these pens, do go and check him out there. This is the Benu Minima Magma, and although I don't normally go for black pens, I absolutely love the accents that are going on in this pen. This lovely reddish rose gold kind of glitter that is going on in that pen, and it really is a lovely pen. It's a small pen, it's not a massive pen. You can't post the caps on this, unfortunately, but this is a really nice pen. It's got a broad nib on it, and it's a cartridge pen. It's not a converter, unfortunately, because it's a little bit too small, and it's what I would almost call a pocket pen. But this is a really nice pen, so I have that currently inked up this week. The next pen is again another Benu pen, and this is the Charming Chameleon. And the Chameleon is the model and the Charming is the colour. And you can see here that this Chameleon does change colour in those patches there. You can see that's more of a blue and a pink, and then it just comes to like a lilac-y, violet-y colour. So it does change colour. It does have these little notches in the body, and you might wonder what they are for, especially seeing that this is a screw cap. The idea is that you click the cap on, even though it's a screw cap, and I really like that idea. So I'm currently writing with this pen this week. It comes with a number 5 Schmidt nib, just like the Minima Magma does. This is a cartridge converter pen, and if you don't want to post the cap, then you can have it a bit shorter. It also has this glitter here going on in the body, which is quite interesting as well. So I am actually liking writing with this quite a lot. The next pen I have inked up is my Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence, and this was inked up I believe last week as well. It really is a nice pen, and I do write a lot with this pen. I like it. It has a 23 cat palladium nib. It's a medium nib there. It's a power vac filler, so it holds a lot of ink, around 2.5 milliliters of ink. It has a double reservoir, has the hook safe lock mechanism, and I absolutely love writing with this. And you can see this sort of colour that's going on there, absolutely beautiful. So I have that one inked up this week as well. And then another one that I am literally, like, there is just a very small amount of ink left in there. This is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. Now, I think I can probably get through the writing sample on this one, because this is a fine nib and this probably will work. And I think I got enough ink in there. So this is a Visconti 23 cat palladium nib. It's a fine nib. But I just love these Viscontis. Again, it's a power vac filler, double reservoir, hook safe lock, 23 cat palladium nib. And these are just absolutely stunning pens. So I have this one also inked up this week as well, and have been writing a lot with that pen. And another Visconti Homo Sapiens I have inked up is this lovely pen, and this is the Caput Mundi, and this is a semi-transparent, semi-opaque pen. It's a lovely sort of red colour. It has a 23 cap palladium medium nib on there. Again, Paravac filler, holds 2.5 millilitres of ink, double reservoir, hook safe lock, 23 cap palladium nib. These just feel so well balanced in my hand, and it's just a model that I like, and I love the slight concaveness of the section as well. You can even post these caps if you want to, but I don't normally, but you can do if you want to. These for me are a really good pen, and I always love writing with my Visconti Homo Sapiens. I never want to stop writing with them. The next pen I have here is on loan from Den's Pens, and this is a Mythic pens, and it's the Aeschylus. And so this is a pen that Den and Brad at Mythic Pens exchanged. So Den sent one of his pens over to Brad, and Brad sent one of his back, and I like the idea of doing that. So this is the Aeschylus from Mythic Pens. It's a really nice pen. It's made by Jonathan Brooks's Peacock Koi material. Absolutely beautiful. Has a Yovo broad nib on there. It's a cartridge converter pen, and I like it. And I like the slight concaveness there of the section as well. And I do like it. And I like the way that the cap doesn't protrude too much on over the body there, and this pen really is polished, as you can see there, to a very high level. So I think Brad has really done the material justice there. I have this pen inked up, which is a Montegrappa, and it's an extra 1930 shiny lines dove. Now the idea is the shiny lines go the length of the pen and the shiny circles go around the pen. And this is a celluloid that Montegrappa have. It's in their arsenal of celluloid, and it's slowly, or maybe even fastly, running out. I don't know how many more rods they have of this material, but it's a celluloid that only Montegrappa have. Beautiful pen. Unfortunately, this Shiny Lines Dove pen is sold out. It was a Goulet exclusive. I love that Goulet was able to do this celluloid section colour, whereas most Montegrappas, and you'll see it on the next pen, have a silver section. This has the celluloid section. But I love this pen. I love the nib. It's an 18 karat gold medium nib there. And although I find this pen a little bit more on the shorter side for me, you can kind of post the cap, although you've got to be careful, because if you start twisting the cap, it's going to twist the piston knob and you're going to probably eject ink. So I don't post this cap, I don't need to, but this is a really beautiful pen that I love writing with. And then we have this one, and so this is the Montegrappa, and this is the shiny circles. So the celluloid, the shiny circles go around the body instead of the length of the body. And this is the Bartolomeo Ferrachina. Bartolomeo was a clockmaker, and you can see here there is a clock on this pen. Now there are versions of the Bartolomeo Ferrachina that do not have a clock, and it's just a celluloid colour instead. So this is an active watch. This is has a solar panel on it, and it will recharge the internal battery on that watch. So this really is a beautiful specimen of a pen. I love the stacked celluloid materials, and as I mentioned, this does have a silver coloured section here. It has a 18 karat gold medium nib, and but it does have a silver section, whereas the Shiny Lines Dove does not. It has a celluloid coloured section, and I don't find this slippery in any way, and I do like the size of the pen and the weight of the pen. It's a very heavy pen, And I do like also the sort of shape here, the bulging of the pen. It doesn't get in my way at all. It's a beautiful pen, and if you want to, you can post the cap, but it's a massive, massive pen. So for me, this is another pen that I like writing with, and I have that inked up this week. The next pen is a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani 90. Now, all of the Visconti Homo Sapiens stacked celluloids also did the circle version, not the straight lines version. So this is a black version with the silver stacked celluloid, and again, this is I love these materials. Celluloid is on its way out now. It's very difficult to get hold of for pen makers. Celluloid is quite highly flammable, especially when you work with it. So there have been reports over years and decades where factories and warehouses have actually caught alight because of the celluloid, because it is highly combustible. So for this, I love the celluloid. I like how the celluloid looks. I like how it comes to life. It really is a beautiful pen. So this is a Corsani 90. It comes with a medium, sorry, not a medium, it comes with a 1.3mm stub nib here. It did come with it originally a medium nib, and I swapped it out. And I like how this one writes. It writes really well, and it's just a pen that I love writing with. So although I loved the medium nib in there, I swapped the medium nib out, and I love the stub nib even more. And then the last pen I have inked up this week is again another Visconti Homo Sapiens. It's a Corsani octagonal. So it's a second version of this pen, and again it's long sold out, but it's faceted into an octagonal shape, and it's a really nice pen. So again, I love this stacked celluloid here. I love how that sparkles. And on this one I have a 23 cat palladium broad nib, and this writes very, very well. So that's another pen that I have currently inked up this week. So that's my currently inked pens for this week. I think let's go and do a writing sample. The first pen is a Benu Minima Magma. So let's do an ink swatch here. So this is quite a wet writing board nib. So this is the Benu Minima Magma, and it is a broad steel nib, and the ink in here is Montegrappa red, which is actually quite a dark red in this pen. The next pen is the Benu Chameleon. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this is a much narrower nib, as you can see here. And this really, it's more of a drier nib, I find. But it writes also like a fine nib, and it is a fine nib. So this is the Benu Chameleon and it is a fine steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple, which is my favourite purple ink. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a medium nib, a very wet nib, typically from Visconti. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence, and it's a medium 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is my second favourite purple ink, and it's KWZ Gummy Berry. And that's an ink that I like a lot. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. And I say inked up loosely because it is literally running on fumes. So let's see if we can get through this writing sample. I think we can, because it's a fine nib. So it's the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, and it's a fine 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Waterman Inspired Blue, which is actually quite a nice blue ink. The next pen is Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is actually a very wet nib, and you wouldn't necessarily know it from this ink swatch here. It's because the ink is actually quite a dry ink, and I'll tell you what that name is in a moment. But it's a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, and it's a medium 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here, the reason why it's a dry ink is that I find that most Pelican Edelstein inks are quite dry, and it's Garnet. So it's Pelican Edelstein Garnet. The next pen is the Mythic pens, and this is the Aeschylus. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is the Mythic pens, and it's the Aeschylus. And it's a broad still nib. It's a Yovo nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Oroshizuku Konpeki, which is a very favourite blue ink of mine. The next pen is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove. So we'll do an ink swatch here. So it's the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove, and it is a medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it is Earl Grey. The next pen is the Montegrappa Shiny Circles Bartolomeo Ferrachina. So we'll do an ink swatch. So this is the Montegrappa, Bartolomeo, Ferrachina, and it's a shiny circles, but I'm going to run out of space if I write this. So I'm going to put in a medium 18 carat gold nib. And then the ink in here again is Diamine Earl Grey, which is not only an ink that I like, but a tea that I like. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani 90. So we'll do an ink swatch, and this is a very wide nib, as you can see there. It's a bit of a paintbrush. It's quite a wide nib how it writes. So this is a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani 90, and it is a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 carat palladium nib, and it is actually starting to run low on ink. And the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple. And have you found it that sometimes when a pen is running low on ink, some pens the ink will get lighter and lighter and lighter, and then it will stop writing. Other pens will actually write to its death, and then suddenly, without getting lighter, will just stop writing. And I've never really worked out how or why that is. If you have any ideas, do let me know in the comments below, because I still can't work that one out myself. And the next pen, last but not least, is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani Octagonal. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this, honestly, I believe isn't a broad nib. It is a broad nib, but I don't think it is. It's more like a double broad to me. This is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani, and it's octagonal. And it claims to be a broad 23 carat palladium nib, but I think it's a double broad, honestly. It's a really smooth broad nib, or double broad nib. And the ink in here is Pelican Edelstein Topaz, which is a beautiful blue ink. And like, strangely enough, I find a lot of Pelican inks quite dry, but that ink I find super saturated, super wet. So I think let's go through these pens inked up one more time. We have a Benu Minima Magma in a broad steel nib, inked up with Montegrappa red. We have a Benu Charming Chameleon in a fine steel nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence in a medium 23 carat palladium nib, inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 carat palladium nib, inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi in a medium 23 carat palladium nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Garnet, which is quite a dry ink, or dry, I find it's a sort of semi-dry writing ink. We have a Mythic pens, the Aeschylus in a broad steel nib, inked up with Pilot Washizuku Konpeki. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove in a medium 18 carat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferrachina in a medium 18 carat gold nib. This is the shiny circles, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani 90 in a 1.3mm 23 carat palladium stub nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. And then last but not least, we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Corsani octagonal in a broad 23 cat palladium nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. So there you have it, that's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.